Hi everybody and welcome to Everyday Manna. Today we are going to make a very light, refreshing brunch menu. This would be perfect to serve for Mother's Day, for a bridal shower, for an Easter brunch or a Sunday brunch, or just any day that you want to have something wonderful, delicious, filling, but a little bit on the lighter side. So the first thing we're going to get started on are some coconut mini bundt cakes. Absolutely delicious. Coconut's one of my favorite flavors. Now I have here just some regular shredded sweetened coconut that I'm putting on a lined baking sheet, and I'm going to toast this in the oven. Now this step is not absolutely necessary. However, toasted coconut's going to add so much more flavor. So I'm going to pop this in a 350-degree oven for about 5 to 8 minutes, depending. Keep an eye on that. Don't let it go too long. Now, in this bowl, I have just some all-purpose flour, some salt, and some baking powder. And I'm going to add, I'm just going to whisk that together real quick. Just kind of get those flavors together. And then in this bowl, I'm going to beat together some regular granulated sugar and some butter. About half a stick of butter that is softened, room temperature, not melted, just room temperature. And I'm just going to use a little hand mixer for this. Just going to beat that together, whip that together. You could use a stand mixer like a big KitchenAid if you wanted to. Once you get it started, just go ahead and turn it up. What you're doing is cutting that sugar into the butter and making it a little more creamy. To this mixture, you want to add a little bit of vanilla and some coconut extract. If you don't have any coconut extract, you can just use all vanilla. Okay, now to this mixture, we're going to add some eggs, 2 eggs, one at a time. And you know, my mother always said you crack your eggs in a separate bowl, so I'm going to do that. Number one, make sure you don't get any shells in there, but you want to make sure you have a good egg. So we're going to mix those one at a time. Then the other one. Oh, it's coconut extract, smells so good. Okay, we're going to beat that one in. Oh, so delicious. You get a little scraper here. So I want to scrape down that side as I'm beating it to make sure I get all of that in there. Okay, now here's an ingredient that you may not be familiar with, and you might, I don't know. This is coconut milk. Now, you will find this either, I found it in the baking aisle at my grocery store. I've also found it in the Asian food section where they sell the soy sauce and all of that stuff. Make sure you get coconut milk. Let me let you see that label real good. Because, there we go, sometimes they sell cream of coconut, they sell coconut cream, different things. You want to make sure that it says coconut milk. And you want to shake it really well before you open it. And you want about half a cup of this. And then I'm actually going to use some of this to make the glaze instead of just regular milk. If you don't have the coconut milk, you can use regular milk, but I would add a little bit more coconut extract, because this adds a significant amount of flavor. You want half a cup or 4 ounces. And then I'm actually going to put a little bit of this in, just a couple of tablespoons. Ooh, so good, in that container. I'll put this in another container and keep the rest of it for another use. Get all that in there. And then we're going to mix this. Oh, it smells wonderful. All right. Now, get rid of some of my dishes. Put them in the sink. Now we are going to incorporate the wet ingredients in with the dry. And I'm just going to put a little bit. You don't want to do this all at once. You want to put about 1/3 of that and mix that in. When that's incorporated, add about 1/3 more. Get that, and then you can add the rest. Let me scrape that down. I'm left-handed and everything's backwards for me, so let's just get that going. All right. And that's our batter. Mix that all together. Depending on the humidity in the room where you're working, you may need to add a little bit more coconut milk. It just depends, honestly. By a little more, I mean like maybe a tablespoon or so. I don't think I'm going to need to, but if it's really dry, you know, you might want to add maybe a tablespoon more of the coconut milk. This is basically a thicker cake batter because this is a pound cake type recipe. Okay. Now, let me get that all cleaned off. For this recipe, you will need some mini bundt cake pans. And I have 2 of them here. These just are like little miniature bundt cakes. You see how they look like the little mini bundt cakes? If you don't have these, you could totally do this in like a mini muffin tin, or even, you know, a bundt pan, a full-size bundt pan, but obviously you would need to increase the baking time significantly. I have sprayed that with non-stick cooking spray, and I like the kind for baking. I like the kind that has the flour in it. It says specifically for baking. And again, I like to use my little mini ice cream scoop. I'm telling you, these things are perfect for so many things. And for these little mini bundt pans, this is a number, I can't see that. I think it's 1 ounce. I think it's the size. But anyway, I'm just filling up my little bundt pans. Oh, my coconut. Oh, I messed up. Uh-oh. Well, let's check our coconut. Hang on. Forgot to add the coconut in. Let's see how we look. Glad I thought of that. Okay, that, you know, it's not perfect, but it's good enough. You want to add some of this, not all of it, but reserve a little bit for the topping. You want to add about 1 cup of your coconut. Let's scrape these little pans out. Oops. I know we've all done that. We've all started something and realized we've left out an ingredient. It's okay. It would even be delicious without it, honestly, but I want the coconut in there. So I'm going to stir that in, because I forgot. Reserve the rest for the topping. Then you're going to fill up your little bundt pans. These are going to go into a 350-degree oven for about 8 to 10 minutes or until a toothpick inserted comes out clean. So I'm just going to fill these up, pop them in the oven, clean up my mess, and when I come back, we're going to get started on a delicious little fruit tart. I'll be back in just a minute. Alrighty, now our little mini bundt cakes are in the oven, and we're going to make a simple, easy fruit tart. Now, I am using these little miniature tart pans. If you don't have these, you can make this on a cookie sheet. Just make one big one, like a big fruit pizza type thing, or any kind of mini pan that you want. Again, you could use muffin tins or the mini muffin tins, whatever works for you. I'm just using store-bought, refrigerated sugar cookie dough because it's delicious and it's easy and quick, and I love it. It's one of my favorites. What I do is just cut little rounds, and then for this pan, I want about half of the round of a cookie to fill it up. If you need to spray your fingers with some of your nonstick spray, that helps your fingers not to stick to the dough when you're pressing it out. That's true for any kind of a little thing that you need to work with your hands on. And you're just going to press them out, patching as you need. If you wanted to use puff pastry, you could just cut out the rounds. If you wanted to use that, it wouldn't have the sweetness that the cookie dough has, but it's delicious. Or whatever your favorite cookie flavor, you could do this with any kind of a cookie flavor base that you wanted. You could also do it with a shortbread. This is more of a method and an idea for you to customize to your likeness. Sugar cookie just happens to be my favorite. And I had one tube of the dough. We'll make 2 pans. For timing's sake, I think I'm just going to do one. My things here's getting sticky. My can. And then all you're going to do is pop this into a preheated 350-degree oven. About 8 minutes or so until they're golden. Now they're going to puff up, but we can deflate that when we take it out. They are going to, puff like a cookie does and spread like a cookie does. So let's get these in a 350-degree oven for about 8. We'll check it at 8 and see. All right. Now, here is where you can honestly use your choice. I'll make this up after the break here. Certainly not going to waste that. You can use your choice of fruit. Strawberries are in season and they're delicious, but you could use blueberries, you could use raspberries, you could use oranges, you could use kiwi, you could use pineapple, you could use whatever you like. It doesn't matter. You're just, want some kind of fruit. Now, I have here half a block or 4 ounces of cream cheese that I'm adding some vanilla extract to. And I'm just going to beat that till it's smooth. You could use whipped cream cheese if you wanted to. That would be fine, too. Get that whipped up and set that aside. Okay. We're just going to set that aside until our cookie bases are done. And then I'm using strawberries because that's what I wanted to use. But you, again, use whatever kind of fruit that you like. And I've lost my knife. There it is. Now, what I want to do is because that tart is so small, I want to dice my strawberries. You could put these through an egg slicer if you wanted to. Chopper of any kind would work. But you just want to dice them to smaller bites because those tarts are small. If you're doing a full size, like a full-size sheet cookie type thing, you could just slice them. That would be fine too. But I am going to dice mine up. And I'm actually going to sweeten mine just a touch, not a whole lot, but just a little bit with some sugar. I use sugar substitute, but you could use whatever you wanted. Regular granulated sugar or powdered sugar would be fine. You don't need a whole lot, just a few, because remember those tarts are small. I've made fruit pizzas of all kinds and just different flavors using different fruits and all kinds of wonderful, wonderful things. So we're just going to dice these up. I like a little paring knife. All right, I'll dice up some more of that over the break, but I just want to show you what to do here. Now, I want to add just a little bit of granulated sugar. What that's going to do is that's going to macerate the berries. Sometimes strawberries aren't as sweet as I like them. So I pretty much always add a little bit of sugar to mine and let them set. And that's going to macerate them and make them even sweeter. Now, we're going to get started on our cucumber sandwiches while that stuff is baking. And I want to show you what to do to get your cucumbers ready to go. Now, I have here 1 English cucumber. I have here some white wine vinegar, some salt and some pepper, a little bit of sugar, and some fresh dill. And I'm going to mince up about a tablespoon or so of the dill. I absolutely adore the flavor of dill. And with cucumbers, it just goes perfectly. We're actually making not really a pickle, but a quick flavored cucumber that we're going to let this set for a couple of hours before we make our sandwiches. So I wanted to show you this part. All right, a couple of tablespoons or so of that dill is good. Stir that together. And then you want to take a vegetable peeler. If you don't have a peeler, don't worry about it. You can just slice it in rounds, but it looks so pretty to do it this way. All right, take one. I like to cut these longer ones in half and cut just long ribbons, just like, well, if I can get it to, all right, you see that? You want those long ribbons. If you don't want to do this, just cut it into rounds with a knife this way, but make sure it's thin. You don't want a thick bite of cucumber in this. And I'm going to drop them in that liquid while I'm doing this. So I'm going to do 1 whole cucumber because these are big. But if you're using the little mini, like the little Persian cucumbers or regular just waxed cucumbers, you will want to peel them. Not the Persian, but the regular waxed cucumber. This does not have any kind of a wax on the skin, so I feel fine just washing them and using the whole thing. So all I'm going to do is finish peeling these cucumbers, getting them in that liquid, and then when I come back, our tarts and our cakes should be about done. We're going to make a tea, assemble these sandwiches, and we'll put all of this together. I'll be back in just a minute. This needs to soak about 2 hours. I'll be back in just a few minutes. Alrighty, now our little mini bundt cakes are done. Look how cute those are. And I just took them out of the pan upside down because I want that little hole. We're going to make the glaze, remember, out of powdered sugar, and I'm going to actually use some of the coconut milk that I had because I've got that can. Probably need a little bit more milk, so let's add a little tiny bit more coconut milk. You don't want it too thin, but you don't want it thick, thick, thick either. I think I need a bigger whisk than my little mini one. That's cute, but it's not very practical. There we go. Okay, your glaze, this couldn't be simpler. We're just going to literally pour it over top of, drizzle it over top of the little cakes. I mean, it's very simple. Now mine has that little tiny hole because these are actually little mini bundt pans. So mine is going to stay in that little hole, which is perfectly fine. Okay. Use as much or as little glaze as you like. I don't like my stuff overly frosted or glazed, to be honest with you. I'm the person who likes cinnamon rolls without the glaze on it. So I'm not going to add too much to mine because I really don't like it. And I do advise you to do, I don't like too much, let me just say it that way. I do advise you to do this over a rimmed baking sheet because otherwise that'll make a mess. Now we're going to take some of the reserved coconut that we toasted earlier and just sprinkle that over top of our little mini pans. Again, if you don't have the little mini bundt pans, you could use mini muffin tins or make them a little bit bigger, make them in muffin sizes. It's fine. Whatever you want to do. And then just place them on your serving dish. I'm only going to put about half because I'm also going to put some of these tarts on there. Set those to the side. Now our little tart shells are done. Look how cute. See how they make this perfect little cup in the tart shape. You see the little, it just makes this perfect little tiny little cup. They're cooled. So I'm going to fill them with just a little bit of the cream cheese mixture that we made. Just a little spoonful. Each one, not too much, and spread it out just a little bit. Not difficult. Just, there you go. Oh, I cannot wait to eat this. This is one of my favorite things. All right. I'll show you how we'll do 2 or 3 because we need to get the sandwiches done. And then on top of that, put a little bit of your strawberries that we made earlier. Now remember, if you want to use something besides strawberries, feel free. I'm just using strawberries today. This is good with blackberries. It's good with any kind of fruit. Anything you like will work. And then over top of that, I have just a jar of apricot jam that I melted a little bit in the microwave. And you just want to glaze the top of those strawberries. You know, you go to pastry counters that have that beautiful glazed fruit, this is what they do. They use apricot or either apricot or apple and brush it over top, melted. That's really how you do that. And there are your delicious little strawberry tarts. We'll finish making those, the rest of those in just a few minutes. Let's make a sandwich real quick so I can show you how to do it. Get my mess off. I'm using the really, really thin bread. You could use the really thin bread or you could use the thicker bread. You can use any kind of bread you like. I got a little bit of softened butter that I'm going to put on all of the bread. You will need to drain your cucumbers and get that liquid out. I've already got mine draining. That salt really draws out a lot of liquid. So you want to make sure you've got that draining. I love little cucumber sandwiches. I just love them. This is the perfect little afternoon brunch type thing for a shower or Mother's Day or, again, Easter brunch or whenever. It doesn't matter. It's delicious any time that you want to serve it. Then on half your bread, we're going to add some, I like the whipped cream cheese, but you could add whatever, flavor you like. It's fine. Just on half your bread. To go alongside this, I made just an easy peach tea. All I did was blitz up a bag of frozen peaches in my blender and added it to some unsweet tea or sweet tea if you like. We drink unsweet tea. And then take your cucumbers and spread them over top. Place one of your buttered tops on there. And then slice it any way you want. Cut the crusts off if you want it to be really fancy. It's just pretty. And then you can cut them into fingers like this and serve them on a pretty little tray. Or you could serve them, cut them into triangles, whatever size you want. However you want to do it. If you want to make these ahead, you can. Make them, put some damp paper towels over them, and they will just stay delicious for overnight. And here's our tea, just frozen peaches, pureed in a blender, added to some unsweet tea, sweeten it with the sweetener of your choice. There you go, some quick, easy brunch ideas for you. Thank you for joining with me, and I will see you next time on Everyday Manna.